We're going to continue with 2.2 linear equations and go over how to write the equation of a perpendicular line and a parallel line. So let's say we have the equation of y equals 3/4 x plus 2. Right now this is in the form of y equals mx plus b, which is in the form of slope-intercept form, because your m is your slope and your b is the y-intercept. So from here we know that m is equal to 3/4. So when we're looking at parallel lines, let's say that we want to find the equation that is parallel to this line, y equals 3/4 x plus 2, and goes through the point of, let's say, 0,4. Okay, so since we know that the slope is 3/4 here, and since it's parallel, we know that parallel lines have the same slope, because if we're going to have a parallel line that's going to have a slope of 3/4, we can also graph this and show it. So this one has a y-intercept of 2, right? Because the b is 2. 1, 2. We can graph that first. And then it has a slope of 3/4. So we can rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and we can run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise 3 and run 4. And our point will be at 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the y, we started at 2, 0, 2 is our intercept, and we went up 3, so now we should be at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a point 4, 5. Okay, so since we want to find an equation for a line that is parallel to this, you should always write the equation by it, which is y equals 3/4 x plus 2. We want to write the equation that's going to go through 0,4. So if you want to graph that, you can start with that. We know 0,4 is right here, which is also your y-intercept. So for this one, we already know that your b is 4, because your x is always 0 for your y-intercept. And we know that we're going to be using 3/4 again for our slope, because it has the same slope when they are parallel. So rise 1, 2, 3, and then we should be at, so this is point 0,4. When we rise 3, 1, 2, 3, we'll be at 7. And then when we run 4, we'll be at this point right here. That's going to be the point 4, 7. And when we draw this line in, it should look like it's parallel. So if you guys actually draw it on grid paper instead of my by hand sketch, it'll look more accurate, but it still looks pretty much parallel. We can go ahead and just plug in your m and your b here, but if you didn't see that right away, you can plug in 2 y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our point is 0,4, so we have y minus 4 equals, our slope is 3/4, and then we have x minus 0. X minus 0 is just an x, so we have y minus 4 equals 3/4 x. We can add our 4 over, and we can get our line of y equals 3/4 x plus 4. Which, if we plugged in 4 as your b and 3/4 as your slope, you'll get the same thing. So that's parallel lines. Perpendicular lines is a little bit different. So when we're looking at perpendicular lines, that means that they're forming right angles. So let's say we want to make it perpendicular we want to find the equation of a line that's perpendicular to, same equation here, y equals 3/4 x plus 2, and through the point 6, 1. So for perpendicular lines, the symbol for that is, looks like an upside down capital T. Perpendicular slope, this stands for. This perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. Opposite means you're going to negate it, and reciprocal means you're going to flip it. So the perpendicular slope to this, if the original slope is 3/4, we're going to negate it, so it'll be negative, and we're going to flip it. So it'll be 4/3. So this is the slope that we're using now, because we're looking at the perpendicular line. And then we'll just plug in this point. So again, we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we'll plug in this point. Y minus our y1 is a 1. Our perpendicular slope is -4/3 x minus 6. We're going to distribute this 4/3 in, -4/3 in. Y minus 1 equals -4/3 x. We could do some side work up here. We have -4/3 times -6. -6 is the same as -6/1. So when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators and you multiply the denominators. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 6 is a 24/3. 3 goes into 24 8 times. Or you could have canceled this out. 6/3 is a 2, and 2 times 4 is 8. You get the same thing. So this is a plus 8 down here. We add 1 to both sides, and we get y is equal to -4/3 x plus 9. And that is our equation that's perpendicular to this line and going through the point 6, 1.